If you're diagnosed with herpes, have you ever felt like your dating life was swimming upstream against a current, getting battered by waves, and by the time you get swept downstream, you're too exhausted to even try again? Because if that sounds like you, in this video, I want to explain the 3 key mindsets that are going to allow you to go from swimming upstream to floating effortlessly with the current right into a loving relationship. Now, I had this idea in the shower, and you don't actually need to force dating. What you need is your dad. No, not that dad. He went to get milk 20 years ago and never came back. Forget about him. DAD is an acronym I came up with in the shower. And it stands for delusion, abundance, and detachment. And in this video, I want to explain what each of those mean, because if you only have 1 or 2 of them, it's not going to work. Building all 3 of those in that sequential order is going to give you the most amount of success with dating, because it's what I've gone through myself. And the first one is delusional optimism. Okay, so when I first got diagnosed, of course I had the belief of no one's going to date me. Why would someone date me? I have nothing to offer. This is going to be so difficult. And a lot of people stay stuck in that mindset long term. And the longer that you keep that mindset ingrained into your head, the deeper it's going to go. The more time is going to pass where you believe that you are unlovable. So what I urge you to do, even if it's for 1 minute today and 5 minutes tomorrow and 5 minutes the next day, flip the script. Start developing delusional optimism and start asking the opposite of every single question that you might have right now. So you might be asking yourself, why would someone date me? Flip the script just for fun and say, why wouldn't someone date me? Why can't I date with herpes? You know, and you're probably asking yourself right now, well, how am I going to do this if I don't genuinely feel that? That's where I can actually help you. Because the coaching clients I work with, the first step is detaching from the stigma, getting knowledgeable about herpes, transmission, prevalency, things like that. If you want some help, there's a video in the description box, a 3-step process video, or if you want to book a call directly with me, there's a link to book a call as well. But you can actually back up your delusion with the prevalency. The majority of people on planet Earth have herpes, oral herpes or genital herpes. They're both contagious. They both should be disclosed. That makes sense in my head. So I'm reframing my delusion to actually be, I'm part of the majority dating with herpes. Why wouldn't someone date me if I'm part of the majority? And obviously, if they're unaware of this statistic and they're not willing to learn, I'm not missing out. So I actually based my entire delusion on facts. The other thing you can do in this delusional phase is remember all the things that you still have to offer. Just because you have herpes doesn't mean you are unemployed now. Maybe you are, but get back on track. Doesn't mean that you have nothing to offer. You don't have your health anymore. You don't have all these good qualities and all these good traits and stuff. So what I urge you to do is take some time, go back to all the habits and actions and things that you used to do that made you confident. So go get a haircut, get some new clothes, go back to the gym, write down a self-worth exercise, all the things you have to offer. Great cook, sense of humor, great in bed, great job, all of these different things. Because you need to remind yourself that you are more than your diagnosis. You aren't just a human being with herpes. You are all of these things, and you happen to have contracted HSV. Boo-hoo. The majority of people have HSV. You had fun getting it? Me too. So you basically build up through self-worth and through knowledge delusional optimism where you believe that people should date you. You believe that there is an abundance of people out there that are just waiting to meet you, and we oftentimes hold ourselves back. And I know this seems a little bit difficult from the get-go, but I urge you, because the longer that you stay in the identity of no one's going to date me, the more that becomes your reality. And on the flip side, with a little bit of effort, the longer that you stay in the delusional phase, which is like, why wouldn't someone date me? Why can't I go and disclose? Why should this be difficult? Why can't I ever find a partner? Your brain is slowly going to mold itself like it molded negatively, but into the positives, which then leads us into abundance. Now, this is something I noticed living in Bali for 4 months, okay? So I went to Bali, white dude, maybe it's a good thing there. I had I would say 500 plus matches over the course of 4 months. Now, this is not to flex, but it's to say that my entire perspective on dating shifted regardless of my herpes diagnosis. Because I started to realize that there is so many people out there that are interested in you. Now, it may actually take changing locations or doing more hobbies or putting yourself in places where there is actually an abundance of people to psychologically share or psychologically show you that dating can be fine. Now, I came back to Canada a few days ago, and the reason I'm talking about this abundance right now is because I've had like 4 matches. One of them lived like 3 hours away, and I'm over here just like curiously swiping on Tinder and Bumble and having literally no success. And it was kind of the same thing before, like back in Toronto. And I started to realize like the way that I psychologically dated in Bali was thinking, all right, if I don't meet this match, I'm talking to 7 other people. And if I don't have a connection with them, someone new is going to come next week. And it almost became sort of comical that if you have so many potential options, this is not a flex. It's like circumstances and location and all of this stuff. But the lesson here is like, if you can find a way to have an abundance of people, even if it's like 10 people or 20 people or, you know, a few conversations versus that 1 or 2 matches or 1 or 2 people you feel like you have a connection with, you're going to put so much less pressure on making sure this works out with this person, or forcing this connection even if you aren't totally compatible, or building up your disclosure to be this like make or break thing because you don't have any other options. So, some practical steps. Hey, maybe if you want to change locations, start a new life, become a new person post-diagnosis and you're able to, go do that. Move somewhere else, move to a bigger city, move to somewhere you've always wanted to do. Find a way to make money online and maybe, I don't know, travel somewhere else and experience life with herpes elsewhere out of the environment that you've been molded into. Or if you can't do that, pick up some new hobbies, go play a new sport, go pick up tennis, go learn magic, put yourself in positions, even go to a new gym. Put yourself in positions where you're around new people, an abundance of new people, where you can feel like, all right, I can be a totally new person in this environment. I can talk to new people. I can share new hobbies and interests with people and build a connection there, and then my diagnosis won't be a big deal. So the lesson in step number 2, which is abundance, is like you will psychologically feel much more confident dating with herpes if you feel like you have a bunch of possible options versus 1 or 2 people you're trying to force to work. Which then leads into number 3, which actually is built on the first 2, because you are delusionally optimistic about dating. You have an abundance of people, whether it's like actual abundance or whether it's psychologically up here. And then number 3D is detachment, which is hopefully not what that train is going to do, because if that train detaches, there's going to be no more herpes content. But we're just going to wait till it's over. Okay, hold on. Are we good? Okay. I want you to totally detach from any outcome. Now, this is actually going to take a little bit of practice, but the more you do it, the instantaneous and the easier it's going to be. So, whenever you are talking to a new person, whether they're ugly, whether they're average, whether they're super attractive, whether you have the best connection ever, or you're just looking for something casual, I want you to entirely detach from the expectation that you are gonna keep talking, gonna even disclose, gonna have sex, gonna date long term, gonna get married. Completely detach. Now, not from the expectation that like it's gonna go badly, but you need to be totally unattached to any outcome, whether it's your job, whether it's your dating life, whether it's the sun coming out or the sun not coming out. You need to be totally okay and indifferent regardless of the outcome. And this is going to allow you to not build up so much pressure around your disclosure, because if it works out, once you confidently disclose, that's okay. If it doesn't work out, that's okay too. Because what I found is that like a lot of the problems that we have nowadays is from too much attachment and too much importance and too much emphasis on things. So it's like, I gotta make this work. And if it doesn't work, insert my life is over. If I don't get this job, my life is over. If I don't date this person, my life is over. If my disclosure goes badly, I can't date again. And the key here is that when you put all three of those mindsets together, which is, delusionally believing you can date anybody, because you genuinely can date anybody that you want, which is then going to propel you to try to actually date. Now, you're not going to be able to convince everybody to date you, but with the perspective of why can't everybody date me, you're going to have so many more opportunities mentally to go and disclose, which then piles into abundance, where if you can build an abundance, or you can move somewhere else, or you can, cultivate an environment where you have a lot of options available, then you're not putting so much pressure on your disclosures, and you're able to find a partner that aligns with you, and not just like forcing upstream swimming this one person that you have in your dating app because it's the only person you've matched with in 4 or 5 years. And then detaching from the outcome, because the less that you have attached to this person, the more it's actually going to probably be a favorable response. Because I'll give you an example here. Let's say that you don't have these mindsets. What it would be is, damn, no one's gonna date me. I don't know if I'm ever gonna find love again. I'm not optimistic about this, okay? That's your first one. And then you have like 1 or 2 matches on your dating app. If you're even using a dating app, we'll just use that as an example because it's easy. Your pictures suck because you don't give a shit anymore. You don't put effort into a conversation because what's the point? I don't know, you don't have a bio, or your bio is like, my life is over, I'm sad all the time. So that's not really going to be good for you. And you have 1 match. And then you basically have your inability to believe you're lovable, your lack of abundance, and you're completely now attached to making this one conversation work out. Hey, you want to meet, and maybe you're forcing them to meet, or maybe you're trauma dumping, or maybe you're not presenting your authentic and best self because you're hiding behind your diagnosis. And then if you somehow meet up with this person and build a connection, which is, you're doing good so far, somehow delusionally good, then when you go into a disclosure, you are nervous, you push them away because you don't believe you're lovable, and you basically try to get their approval, you try to force this to happen. And honestly, a little side tangent here, some people do have success with dating, despite the fact that they're not optimistic, not in abundance, and completely attached to this person. And they end up in toxic relationships, or they end up settling for someone for years just because they also have herpes, or they just accepted them. And I want you to understand that you are worthy of a relationship and a love life and a dating life that actually is going to be serving you and not just draining you. If you do want some help getting to that point, getting rid of shame, perfecting disclosure, attracting a loving partner, building the life that you actually want post-diagnosis, click the link in my bio. There's a 3-step process video and also a link to book a call with me directly. Apply those 3 mindsets. If you're missing any of them, it's not going to work. If you are struggling and failing and struggling and failing, at least just watch this video again and try to implement some of these mindsets, because they are going to give you success long-term, because this is what's given me success long-term. Extra comments, leave it down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, what am I even doing? This is too YouTubey. See you guys in the next video.